Lie down. Spread your legs. Fumiko freezes. The metal table beneath her burns cold through the thin medical gown. She doesn't understand English, but she understands those words. Every woman understands those words. The American soldier holds something that buzzes. Not a knife, not a scalpel, something mechanical, something she's never seen before. What is that thing? Her mind races through every horror story, the propaganda films, the whispered warnings in training, what Americans do to captured women. 47 Japanese women reached American processing centers by August 1944, out of 1,200 captured across the Pacific. The rest died by their own hands or enemy fire. Fumiko, 22, Imperial Army nurse from Kyoto, is number 47, the last one processed today. The buzzing grows louder. Karada ga kuri no yu ni katamata, ugokenakata, ikimo dekinakata. Her body turned to ice. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe. A female American nurse stands in the corner, watching, arms crossed, face unreadable. Why isn't she stopping this? Why is a woman allowing this to happen to another woman? The male soldier leans closer. His breath smells like coffee and cigarettes. He speaks slowly, like she's stupid. Points at her inner thigh, the soft skin, the vulnerable flesh inches from no, please no. Beside her, on the next table, Hanako screams. 19 years old, signals operator, youngest in their unit. The scream cuts through the sterile air like breaking glass, then stops, replaced by something worse. Silence. Fumiko turns her head. Hanako's eyes are open, staring at the ceiling. But she's not there anymore. Gone somewhere inside herself where the buzzing can't reach. The needle, because Fumiko can see it now, it's a needle attached to the buzzing machine, touches Hanako's inner thigh. Blood beads around black ink, numbers forming on flesh. Not cutting, not what she expected, tattooing. But the location. Why there? Why not the arm, the shoulder, the neck? Why the place where only lovers and doctors should ever see? The American finishes with Hanako, wipes the blood, moves to Fumiko's table. His gloved hands are warm against her frozen skin. He positions her leg. She can smell antiseptic now. Medical, clean. Nothing like torture chambers smell. But her body doesn't believe it. The female nurse mouths something. 2 words. Fumiko can't understand. Then the needle touches her inner thigh, and the buzzing drowns out everything except one question. What did that nurse just say? I'm sorry. That's what the nurse mouthed. Fumiko realizes it 3 seconds too late. The needle is already inside her skin. Fire. That's what it feels like. Liquid fire injected into the softest part of her body. The vibration travels through muscle into bone. Her teeth clamp together so hard she tastes copper. The American works methodically. Black ink, red blood, numbers appearing like bruises that will never heal. 0, 0, 4, 7. Naz sokoni, naz kao, yauda janai no. Why there? Why not face or arm? U.S. Army Protocol, 1944C stated tattoo placement must be concealed by standard clothing during daily inspection, but visible during medical examination. For women, this meant inner thigh. For 89% of female POWs, this exact spot. 3 inches from places that made the location feel like assault even when it wasn't. The tattooist, Corporal Mitchell Webb, 26 from Oklahoma, doesn't look at her face. Professionals don't. He focuses on the numbers, clean lines, permanent record. Fumiko forces herself to breathe, in, out. The antiseptic smell fills her lungs. Medical. This is medical. Not what you thought. But her body screams otherwise. On the next table, Hanako hasn't moved. Eyes still fixed on ceiling, chest barely rising. She's retreated somewhere far away, somewhere the needle can't follow. The female nurse, name tag reads Dorothy Ashford, shifts her weight. Her jaw tightens. She's watching web work and her hands are balled into fists at her sides. She disagrees. Fumiko can see it, feel it. But protocol is protocol. The needle stops. Webb wipes blood with gauze. The numbers glisten, black ink surrounded by angry red skin. Permanent. Forever. Fumiko is no longer a name, she's an inventory, a number on a list. Catalogued like equipment. Suji ga haraniki zamareta shunkan, ningen dewanaku nata. The moment numbers were carved into skin, she stopped being human. Web moves away. New gloves, new needle. The third woman waits. Tomoe, 25, field surgeon. She watched both tattoos happen without blinking. Now it's her turn, and her hands are trembling. Dorothy approaches Fumiko, applies bandage to the fresh wound. Her fingers are gentle, too gentle. Like apology translated into touch. Their eyes meet. Dorothy's lips move again. No sound. But Fumiko understands this time. I tried to stop this. 3 days later, Hanako still hasn't spoken a single word. Her eyes stay empty, body functional, mind gone. But that night, she does something that will haunt Fumiko for 60 years. Blood on tile. That's what Fumiko sees first. Dark puddles spreading across the bathroom floor. Moonlight through the window, making it look black instead of red. And Hanako, kneeling in the center, surgical scalpel in hand, cutting into her own thigh. "Hanako!" The scream tears from Fumiko's throat before she can stop it. She lunges forward, bare feet slipping on wet tile. The cold shocks through her soles, but she doesn't care. Hanako doesn't look up, just keeps cutting, methodical, precise, like she's performing surgery on herself. The tattoo is half destroyed, numbers shredded, skin hanging in ribbons. But the ink is deep, too deep. She can't cut it all out. Kore ga aru kagiri, watashi wa ningen janai, suji da. As long as this exists, I'm not human. I'm a number. 12 documented cases of Japanese female POWs, attempting self-removal of identification tattoos between 1944 and 1945. 3 resulted in permanent disability, 1 resulted in death from infection. Hanako is about to become a statistic. Fumiko grabs her wrist. The scalpel slices her palm. Sharp sting, warm blood. But she doesn't let go. They struggle. Hanako is stronger than she looks. Desperate. Wild. Let me finish. Guards hear the commotion. Boots pounding on concrete. Flashlight beams cutting through darkness. First through the door, Private Michael Tanaka, 23, Japanese-American from California. He sees the blood, the scalpel, the destroyed tattoo. His face goes pale. Then he does something unexpected. He kneels, not reaching for the scalpel, not restraining her, just kneeling, eye level. And he speaks, Japanese. Watashi momoteru. I have one too. Hanako freezes. Private Tanaka pulls up his shirt. There, on his ribs, raised scar tissue forms numbers, old, healed, but unmistakable. Fumiko stares, an American, with a tattoo, like theirs. Manzanar, Tanaka says, voice barely above whisper. 1942, processing. They numbered us too. Japanese Americans, enemy aliens, my mother, my sister, all numbered. The scalpel clatters into the bloody water. Hanako's breath comes in gasps. Shock, confusion. The wall between enemy and human cracking down the middle. You were numbered? Tanaka nods, rolls his shirt back down, doesn't break eye contact. The numbers don't make you less human. The people who gave them, they're the ones who lost their humanity. Behind them, more guards arrive. Medical team, stretcher. But the moment has already passed. Hanako looks at Fumiko, first sign of presence in 3 days. But her eyes hold a question that won't be answered until morning. What really happened at Manzanar? They told us it was for our protection. Tanaka sits on an ammunition crate outside the medical tent. Dawn breaking pink over the Pacific Processing Center. Fumiko beside him. Hanako inside, sedated, stitched, stable, for now. February 1942. Executive Order 9066. 120,000 Japanese Americans. Rounded up, relocated, numbered. Fumiko's English is broken, but she understands enough. Numbers, relocation, processing, words that translate perfectly into horror. They tattooed all of you? Not tattoos, tags, Identification numbers. We wore them on our clothes, our bags, our children. Kodomo maid, nays, children too? Why? 120,000 included 17,000 children under 10 years old. Babies given numbers before names. Families identified by digits instead of heritage. My little sister was 4, Tanaka's voice cracks. Number 13459. She thought it was a game, counting. She didn't know she was being erased? Fumiko feels something shift inside her chest. The enemy, the Americans, the monsters from propaganda films. This man has a little sister, had a number, knows what it means to be reduced to inventory. But you fight for them now, after what they did. Tanaka looks at her, eyes hard, then soft. I fight so no one else has to wear numbers. Japanese, American, anyone. The camps were wrong. This, he gestures toward the medical tent, this is wrong too, but being here, I can maybe make it less wrong. Inside the tent, Hanako stirs, mumbles something in her sleep. Fumiko realizes she's been wrong about Americans, about enemies, about the simple categories propaganda creates. But then Tanaka says something that destroys her. I heard what happened in Nanking. Fumiko's blood freezes. The Chinese, what your soldiers did, the numbers they tattooed on prisoners, the women. She can't breathe. Watashi wa shitte iru. I know. You were a nurse, Imperial Army, stationed in China, 1937 to 1939. How does he know? The files. He must have read the files. I'm not accusing. His voice stays level. I'm asking. Do you remember a hospital in Nanking, December 1937, a woman named Mei Lin Chen? The name hits like a bullet. Mei Lin Chen, number 0891. Fumiko handed the needle to the doctor. She remembers. The woman who didn't cry, who just stared. Why are you asking me this? Tanaka stands, brushes dirt from his uniform. Because Mei Lin Chen was my aunt, and I need to know what happened to her. December 1937. Fumiko was 19 years old. The hospital smelled like blood and bleach. Bodies stacked in corridors. Chinese prisoners herded through processing lines. Women separated from men, children from mothers. She was supposed to be a healer. Instead, she handed needles to Dr. Ishida. Watched him tattoo numbers onto flesh. Production line efficiency, 100 women per day. Inner arms, necks, thighs. For the younger ones. Same location American medics would later use on her. Watashi wa nani mo iwanakata, nani mo shinakata, tada miteta. I said nothing, did nothing, just watched. 30,000 Chinese civilians processed through Nanking Central Hospital in December 1937. Estimated 20,000 received identification tattoos. Survival rate after processing, 43%. Mei Lin Chen arrived on December 14th. Fumiko remembers her clearly now. Forced to remember. Tanaka's question unlocking vaults she welded shut years ago. Mei Lin was 38, schoolteacher. Still wearing her glasses when soldiers dragged her in. They shattered on the floor during processing. She never asked for them back. Number 0891, inner thigh. Same placement. She didn't cry, didn't scream. Just looked at Fumiko with eyes that asked one question, how can you do this? Fumiko looked away. Dr. Ishida moved to the next woman. Fumiko handed him the needle. Assembly line continued. What happened to Mei Lin after? Fumiko never knew, never asked, never wanted to know. She transferred out 2 weeks later, told herself she had no choice. Following orders, just a nurse. But she handed them the needles. Now she sits in an American POW camp with her own number carved into her thigh. Cosmic irony. Divine punishment. She doesn't believe in gods, but she believes in this. Batsu da, aterareru bekimono wo uketotta. Punishment. I received what I deserved. Tanaka returns at noon, sits across from her. Doesn't speak for a long time. Then, she survived the hospital, escaped Nanking in January 1938, made it to Hong Kong, died there in 1940. Infection from the tattoo. It never healed properly. Fumiko feels tears she doesn't deserve. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you sorry you got caught in the same machine? The question cuts deeper than any needle. She doesn't know the answer. Maybe never will. Both, she finally says. Both. Tanaka nods. Not forgiveness, not accusation, something in between. There's something you should see, tonight, after lights out. What? The room where they keep the medical files. Your name is in there. Nanking records. Everything you did. Everything you watched. The records room smells like dust and old paper. Tanaka leads. Fumiko follows. Flashlight cutting narrow paths through darkness. Filing cabinets stretching floor to ceiling. Thousands of names. Thousands of numbers. Intelligence collected everything. Tanaka pulls open a drawer. Japanese military records. Captured documents. Hospital logs from Nanking. Witness statements. Fumiko's heart pounds so loud she's certain guards will hear. Naze watashi ni kore wo miseru no? Why show me this? Because you have a choice. Right now. Tonight. He hands her a folder. Her name in English letters. Inside, photographs, documents, transfer orders. A list of procedures she assisted. Patients, no, prisoners, she processed. Her hands shake so badly the papers rustle. 73 Japanese medical personnel participated in Nanking civilian processing. After the war, 41 would face war crimes tribunals. 18 convicted, 8 executed. The rest, the nurses, the assistants, the ones who just followed orders, mostly disappeared into post-war anonymity. Fumiko could disappear too. The Americans don't have photos, just documents. Her name spelled wrong in 3 places. You could walk out of here clean, Tanaka says. After the war, new identity, no one would know. Or you could tell the truth, everything you saw, everything you did, become a witness instead of a ghost. The choice paralyzes her. Dorothy Ashford appears in the doorway, the nurse from the processing room. She's been watching, listening. We burn files sometimes, Dorothy says. Accidents happen, paper catches fire, records disappear. She holds up a lighter, small, silver, American-made. I can make you invisible, if that's what you want. Fumiko looks at the folder, her entire history, her guilt, her survival. Kiete shimaitai, demo. I want to disappear, but that woman, Mei Lin, she didn't get to disappear. Her number. Followed her until she died. Tanaka closes his eyes, opens them. That's why I'm giving you the choice my aunt never had. Fumiko takes the folder, feels its weight. Every page a grave she helped dig. The lighter gleams in Dorothy's hand. One flick, one flame. Her past turns to ash, or she carries it. Forever, speaks it. Becomes witness instead of accomplice. Hanako appears behind Dorothy, stitches visible on her thigh, bandage soaked through. She shouldn't be walking. Don't burn it, her voice. First real word since the bathroom. If you burn it, she burns too. Mei Lin, all of them. They become nothing. The folder stays closed, but Fumiko hasn't decided yet. Dawn is coming. She has until sunrise to choose. Sunrise. Fumiko hasn't slept. The file sits on her cot, unopened since last night, heavy with names she helped process, numbers she helped inscribe, lives she helped reduce to inventory. Dorothy brings coffee, American coffee. Bitter, hot, real. Have you decided? Wakaranai. I don't know. The tribunal investigators arrive tomorrow. If you want to testify, we need to prepare your statement today. Fumiko sips coffee, burns her tongue, doesn't care. What happens if I confess? Prison? Execution? Depends. Low-level personnel who cooperate. Most receive reduced sentences, some released entirely. The prosecutors want doctors, officers, the ones who gave orders. I handed them the needles. You were 19. Mei Lin was 38. Dorothy sits. The cot creaks. For a long time, neither speaks. Post-war tribunals processed over 5,000 Japanese military personnel for war crimes. Conviction rate, 67%. Execution rate among convicted, 11%. Nurses and medical assistants, mostly warnings or short sentences, unless direct participation in atrocities proved. Fumiko's participation was indirect, following orders, complicit but not commanding. Legal escape route exists, but legal and moral aren't the same thing. Mibun wo kakushitara ikiteikeru, demo ningen toshite washinanai noka. If I hide what I am, I survive. But do I die as a human? Tanaka enters, face grim. He carries papers. They found Tomoe. Tomo, the third woman, field surgeon, tattooed same day as Fumiko. Found her? She hung herself last night, left a note. Fumiko's stomach drops. What did it say? The numbers weren't the worst part. The worst part was knowing I gave them to others first. Tomoe was stationed in Manila, 1943, processing Filipino prisoners. Same procedures, same locations, same cycle of violence passed from army to army, victim to victim. 3 women processed together, one dead by her own hand, one mute from trauma, one drowning in guilt. The tattoo on Fumiko's thigh throbs. I'll testify. The words come out before she decides, before logic catches up. Dorothy nods, no surprise, like she knew all along. I'll get the prosecutor. Alone with Tanaka, Fumiko finally asks, "Will you forgive me for what I did to your aunt?" Tanaka considers, long silence. "Forgiveness isn't mine to give. She's dead. But I can remember you tried, at the end. That's something. Not forgiveness, not absolution. Something smaller, heavier. The weight of being witnessed. Tomorrow she speaks. Today she writes. Every name she remembers. Every number she inscribed. Starting with 0891, 17 names. That's all she can remember. 17 out of hundreds, maybe thousands. The rest are ghosts without faces, numbers without people. She writes what she can. Mei Lin Chen, 0891, school teacher, glasses broken during processing. Liu Xiaoming, 0847, pregnant, 7 months. Fumiko doesn't know what happened to the baby. Wang Fenhua, 0912, screamed the entire time. Soldiers laughed. Koega mara ki koeru, yoruni, nemuro to suru toki. I still hear the screams. At night, when I try to sleep. The prosecutor arrives at noon. American, young, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Name, Captain Harold Weston, 29, Harvard Law. Never seen combat, never seen processing. He thinks he understands. He doesn't. Start from the beginning, December 1937. What was your role? Fumiko tells him everything. The production line, the needles, the numbers. The women who didn't cry and the women who couldn't stop. The doctor who hummed while he worked. The soldiers who watched like it was entertainment. 8 hours of testimony. 63 pages of notes. Captain Weston looks sick by the end, green around the edges. He excuses himself twice, comes back with composed face and shaking hands. This will be instrumental in convicting Dr. Ishida. Ishida is alive? Captured in the Philippines, March 1945, currently awaiting tribunal in Tokyo. Fumiko feels something crack inside her chest. The doctor, the one who gave orders, who designed the system, who hummed while he tattooed women's thighs. I want to testify in person, not just written statement. I want to face him. Weston hesitates. That would require transport to Tokyo, 6 months minimum, dangerous, unprecedented for a POW to testify against their own. Unprecedented. Mei reiga nai karate, yatte wa ikenai wake janai. Just because it's never been done doesn't mean it shouldn't be. Dorothy speaks up. She's been silent all day, taking notes, watching. I'll vouch for her security. She's not a flight risk. She's a witness. Tanaka adds, I'll escort personally. Request transfer to Tokyo detail. Captain Weston considers, writes something, signs it. Conditional approval. Subject to final authorization. You'll know by week's end. After he leaves, Hanako finds Fumiko outside the barracks. Her stitches have been removed, scar tissue forming over destroyed tattoo, numbers still visible underneath, permanent reminder of the night she tried to cut herself free. You're really going to face him? The doctor? Fumiko nods. What will you say? The truth. Hanako touches her scarred thigh, traces the ruined numbers. Then I'm coming too. The courtroom smells like dust and defeat. Tokyo. 14 months after the tattoos, the war is over. Japan has surrendered. Now comes the reckoning. Fumiko sits in the witness box. Across the room, behind the defendant's table, Dr. Ishida watches her. Older now, thinner, but the same eyes, the same hands that held the needles she passed him. He doesn't recognize her. Why would he? She was one nurse among dozens, one pair of hands among hundreds, invisible machinery in his production line of suffering. But she recognizes him. Anote anomi yume ni miru. Those hands, those eyes. I see them in dreams. The prosecutor calls her name. She states it clearly. Former Imperial Army nurse, Nanking Central Hospital. December 1937 through February 1938. Describe your duties. I assisted in prisoner processing, medical examinations, identification marking. Identification marking. Explain. Tattoos, numbers, on the inner thighs of female prisoners. Murmur in the courtroom, translators scramble. Allied observers take notes. Dr. Ishida's expression doesn't change. 17 names. She recites them, locations, dates, procedures, the pregnant woman, the screaming woman, the woman who just stared. Mei-Lin Chen. She didn't cry. She looked at me, asked with her eyes how I could do this. I looked away. I handed Dr. Ishida the needle. She died in 1940 from infection. The prosecution introduces evidence, hospital logs, matching numbers, survivors who testified earlier, the pattern irrefutable. Then comes the question Fumiko dreaded. Why did you participate? Meirei data. Orders. I was told to assist. I assisted. I told myself I had no choice, that I was just a nurse, that the doctors were responsible. And now? Fumiko looks at Dr. Ishida. Their eyes meet. His face remains blank, unrepentant. He still thinks he did nothing wrong. Now I know there's always a choice. I could have refused, accepted punishment, transferred, anything except hand them the needles. But I didn't, and people died because I was too afraid to resist. The defense cross-examines, tries to discredit, points out her own POW status, her own tattoo, her own victimhood. Fumiko rolls up her medical gown, shows the courtroom. Black numbers on her inner thigh. I know what it feels like now. That's why I'm here. Because Mei-Lin Chen couldn't be. Dr. Ishida finally shows emotion, fear, recognition, understanding that this nurse, this invisible cog, is about to destroy him. The verdict comes 3 weeks later. Guilty. All counts. Execution scheduled for February 1946. Fumiko doesn't watch, but she keeps the transcript. Forever. Osaka, 1987. 43 years later. Fumiko is 69 years old, retired nurse, grandmother of 4. She sits in a quiet room with a documentary filmmaker and a question that took half a century to answer. Do you regret it? Which part? What I did in Nanking, or what I did after? Either, both. Kukai wa mainichi tsuzuku, demo sorga ikitiru ryu demo aru. Regret continues every day, but that's also the reason I'm alive. The tattoo on her thigh has faded, numbers blurred by time and aging skin, but still visible, still permanent. She's shown it to 300 audiences, schools, universities, memorials. She pulls up her skirt and shows them the numbers, and then she tells them about Mei-Lin Chen, about 0891, about the woman who didn't cry, 43 years of testimony, 8,000 students who heard her story, 17 names she remembers, thousands she doesn't. But she speaks them anyway. Tanaka died in 1982, heart attack, peaceful. They stayed friends after the war, exchanged letters. He never forgave her, not exactly, but he witnessed her, watched her spend a lifetime trying to earn an absolution that would never come. Hanako survived, married, 3 children. The scar on her thigh faded like Fumiko's tattoo. She visited once in 1971. They sat in silence for an hour. Then Hanako said, "The numbers don't define us. What we do with them does." She never visited again. Fumiko understood. Dorothy Ashford wrote a memoir in 1968, dedicated a chapter to the 3 Japanese women she helped process, called it The Ones Who Taught Me Shame. The documentary filmmaker adjusts his camera. One final question. If you could go back, December 1937, what would you do differently? Fumiko considers. The same question she's asked herself every night for 43 years. I would put down the needle, accept whatever punishment came, prison, discharge, death, anything except complicity, because the numbers... She touches her thigh. They never fade. The ink disappears, but the weight remains. The camera stops rolling. Outside, Osaka moves. Traffic. Children. Life continuing its indifferent march. Fumiko walks home through streets that no longer remember the war, past schools that teach it as history, past generations who think of tattoos as fashion, not violence. She carries Mei Lin's photograph in her wallet. Old. Worn. A schoolteacher with glasses who didn't cry. Every morning Fumiko looks at it. Every morning she says, I remember you. That's not redemption, but it's something.